So, someone we have not talked about on the channel recently has been Evan Leaks. Now, it's a guy about a year and a half ago. I used to always talk about his content that he would post on Twitter because he would talk a lot about the Surface Duo 1, Surface Duo 2, and he would give a lot of amazing leaks on those said devices. Well, since then, he hasn't been as crazy when it comes to leaks on those certain things, but he has still been a really good person to follow on Twitter. He's amazing to follow on Twitter, but not in the category that I would make a video about him. Well, recently he posted this, and this is actually his Z Fold 2 that he has currently for exactly 2 years. He said it held up fairly well, but in that time span, with two important caveats. It's already on the second battery after a very disappointing swelling incident. This is something we've talked about before in the channel, but a lot of Z Fold 2 users and other Samsung phone users have reported that their phone's battery is swelling after 2 years of use. Now, of course, in the most part, that's not too crazy of a big deal. If you have, like, let's say, for example, a Galaxy S22, where it's a $600 phone, most likely in that 2-year period, you're probably going to upgrade to a new phone. That's not too crazy. But once you get into the higher end phones, the Galaxy S22 Ultra, now you're talking about a $1,200 phone, or let alone this phone right here, which when it came out, market retail price was $2,000. That's when you're starting to have a little bit of problems, right? Because now you're at a point where you're like, okay, well, if this phone breaks, yes, obviously you can get warranties from Samsung, but 2 years after, you're not in your warranty anymore. Unless you have an extended warranty, you're probably not having actual coverage for this device. So if it breaks, you're kind of crapped out of luck. And when it's $2,000, this is why another reason why a lot of people are just simply not interested in these foldable phones. Because, you know, you have, first off, the Galaxy Z Fold 2. The fact the screen still works is absolutely amazing, because this was before all the improvements of the Z Fold 3's durability to the display. This is after Z Fold 3 getting waterproofness. This is after, this is before Z Fold 3's improvement, before the Z Fold 3's, waterproofness and all that kind of stuff. So this is like the OG, right? So this display, the chance of this display breaking is like, I would say, at least 30 times more likely than the next display breaking. Nonetheless, though, he said it's on his second battery, which is very disappointing after a swelling incident. Again, like I said, this is a problem where, yes, you can actually go ahead and replace these batteries. So if it does swell, it's not like you are crapped out of luck, you just lost out on your phone. But if it swells too bad and destroys the display, then you are crapped out of luck for your phone. You have to buy a new phone, right? And even if, for example, let's say, you have a 3-year warranty with Samsung, yes, you could technically just send it and get repaired, but I don't know one person right now who the main daily driver phone, if that breaks, right, and the battery starts swelling and the phone breaks, that they're going to be okay with setting away the phone when they have no other cell phone for probably around a week and a half, 2 weeks. Depending on what time of the year, it could be even 3 or 4 weeks, right? So it's one of those things where it's like, this should not be a problem. And this is why anyone who is getting into this is kind of like, listen, I'm not too interested in getting into this whole atmosphere because of that reason. Now, here's our second thing we have. The crease feels like it has gotten more pronounced over time. This is something we have talked about many times in the Z Fold 4, Z Fold 3, Z Fold 2, and the Oppo Find and 5G. The reason why we talk about a lot for the Oppo is because Oppo has their creaseless display. There's no crease on it, right? And I said, over time, I wonder if that's going to start defining itself more. If we're going to start seeing a crease starting to pop up, because over time, as the screen gets less and less durable, after many uses of folding it, opening it, folding it, opening it, folding it, opening it, eventually that crease on this inside would start to slowly get worse. Now, this is something, if you remember the Galaxy Z Flip 3, this was a major issue, was the inside crease was not only getting worse, it was actually breaking. So with the Z Flip 4, Samsung claims to have fixed that issue and fixed those problems, but that's something I was kind of interested with the Z Fold 2, was over time would that crease also break? Now, after 2 years, our man Evan Leaks here has had no issue with that happening. He said it looks like it has gotten more defined, and looking at the image right here, it does look like it's more defined. It looks like it's a little bit deeper than it was before, but it doesn't look like it's breaking. And that's a huge W. So when it does break, if you guys have never seen Z Flip 3 or Z Flip 2, is that this right here will get insanely white. And this is because the plastic is starting to tear, right? So from down here up here. Now, again, keep in mind, this is before the Z Fold 3s, Z Fold 4, where they added even thinner layers of glass and they added more glass to plastic ratio. This is before all that. So with that being said, very amazing that this phone still works out fine. Again, like I said, second battery is disappointing, but overall wise, the fact that this actually still functions in a really good capacity is a W. And I will say overall, you know, I'm excited to see how much longer this phone actually lasts with my man's here. But this is another thing, again, like I said, that really begs the question for people who are trying to get into this atmosphere, this industry of foldable phones, is, and this is why it's so hard for them to become mainstream. Realistically speaking, right? I'm just going to take an iPhone, for example. It's an iPhone 14 Pro, right? This phone right here, and this is why Apple's so great. And I'm not an Apple fanboy, but this is why Apple's so great. I'm going to be honest with you. This phone I could have for the next 4 years, and there would be no issue at all. I could go buy, right now, Apple supports all the way up to the iPhone 8. They used to do the 6 and 6 Plus. They recently canceled those two. They discontinued them. And I believe the 8 is the most recent phone, or the most oldest phone they still support. I could go buy an iPhone 8 that came out like, 7, 8, 9 years ago. I could still use that phone today and be fine. I could still have that phone right now, be getting support from Apple, getting support from, updates and everything like that. And most likely it would still work without a problem. There's iPhone 8s that have been used since day one, and their batteries not going to be 100%, but they're going to be within at least the 60, 70 percentile. This is why, and again, not every single Samsung phone is like this, where there's a problem with the phone's breaking and swelling the battery. Obviously, this is a select few. But this is what, as a consumer, the only way you're going to spend $2,000, $1,800, $1,500, you need the liability to say, hey, listen, if I buy the Z Fold 4 right now, right, for $1,800, I need to know 1,000% this phone's going to work for the next 4 years of my life. Even if you do not give me updates, right? Even if you do not give me any updates. And the Surface Duo 1 and 2, that's going to work for the rest of your life pretty much. Not the rest of your life. It's going to work for the next 4 to 5 years, right? The Z Fold 2, is that going to work for the next 4 or 5 years? Probably not. The battery has been swelling in a lot of different devices. Evan Leaks had to change it out, and a lot of people also had to either change it out or scrap the phone completely. Now, we've not heard that issue with the Z Fold 4, but we haven't had that time period yet. We haven't had the issue with the Z Fold 3. We haven't had that time period yet. So it's one of those things where unless you can 100% confirm that, and based on reading my comic sections and knowing about different people in the industry when it comes to this Z Fold series, there's a lot of people who say randomly one day their screen stops working. And this has been an issue with the Z Fold series overall wise. And again, this is not a software issue. This is not an Android 13, Android 12L. This is not an issue when it comes to software. It's hardware. The screen durability, obviously, yes, is getting better and better. But over time, after 1,000 uses, over years and years and years, there are people who are saying, listen, my Z Fold 3, I've had it for a year and a half. It broke. Woke up one day, won't turn back on the inside display. The outside display works, but the inside display does not. And I think over time, these displays, again, they are a thin microscopic layer of glass over plastic. Over time, they wear down and they break. And that is, again, a huge issue. It's a huge problem because if, you spend that much money on a phone and to not have the reliability, the comfortability of actually knowing this phone will last you a long time, when you're paying more money for this phone than an average cell phone, as in an iPhone or a Galaxy S22 Ultra or whatever, that's when the problem starts to become a thing. And again, like I said, I think we are a long way. I know 2025, Samsung has said that this is going to become a mainstream device, a mainstream phone, unless they can reduce the price, increase the security of the device not breaking, which realistically they can't do at this moment in time because the cost of goods, cost of the products that go into the materials that go into these devices, they would just simply be losing too much money. It wouldn't be profitable. So we'll see what ends up happening. Guys, we have a message from our sponsor, Manscaped. It's that time of the year, Christmas. You want to look good, smell good, feel good? Manscaped has you covered. Starting off right away, they had a Lawnmower 4.0 for your facial hair and your downstairs hair, waterproof and LED light. They got the Weed Whacker for your nose hair and your ear hair. They got the Crop Preserving Reviver for your downstairs jewels. And they, of course, do sell body wash and deodorant. You can use code GAMERS, that's GAMERS, at checkout for 20% off and free shipping. That's code GAMERS for 20% off and free shipping. See you guys next one. Peace out.